Senator Whitehouse, you have put together just an absolutely brilliant series of YouTube videos and whatnot about, the scheme, this plan that basically right-wing billionaires, I would argue it's kind of the extension of the Powell memo from 1971, have been promulgating to take over the political system in the United States, largely to their own benefit. Can you speak to that? Tell our listeners about it.
Yeah, well, Tom, as you've pointed out, it does begin with the Powell memo, which was the last serious piece of writing that the lawyer Lewis Powell did for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the corporate political organization, before he was put on the court by President Richard Nixon, just months after he gave the chamber the memo. And the memo is a political game plan for reasserting corporate power in the United States. And one of its very significant recommendations is that you have to control the Supreme Court because so much of what goes on in the country is determined both economically and culturally and politically by the justices of the court. And as they began to get more and more beat up, when the Koch brother tried to run for office and got less than 2% of the vote, when they tried to fix things with Ronald Reagan and Stockman got taken to the Woodhouse to be woodshedded by the president for his effort to do the things that they wanted, when they got their favorite justice candidate, Bork, blown up, they realized that this was really the way that was left for them around the democratic political system. And so they buckled down. We think that now about $570 million have been spent on this effort. It involves an array of front groups used to hide who's doing what to whom. Federal Society has a big role. Judicial Crisis Network has a big role. Just to give you an idea of the complexity of this, the Judicial Crisis Network is actually not a real organization. It is the fictitious name under the state of Virginia's corporate law of a different front group, which operates to run the ads and marshal political support for Republican Supreme Court nominees. So this has been going on a long time. It begins with the selection of the justices, I should say. It moves on to the political battle to get them confirmed. And then once they're on the court, it moves into the amicus curiae megaphone that tells the chosen justices what it is that the billionaires want them to do. It's quite an operation, but it probably has fewer moving parts than a piano. And there are lots of people who can play a piano, and they play these front groups like piano keys, and most people don't look to see what's the whole picture of what's going on. So that's why I wrote the book, The Scheme, to try to put all the pieces of evidence together, sort of like a pros memo that would give people a chance to evaluate whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong. And most people who read it seem to agree with me, and there's been no serious takedown of the book, despite the hostile territory that it goes into for the billionaires.
Yeah, there you go. I have to say, I have not read it, and I need to get it. And I'd love to get you back on to talk about it in more detail.